RTD-20 full-height rotor turnstile assembly and installation instructions. Prepare the necessary tools and accessories before assembling the turnstile. Always follow the service documentation during the installation process. Follow all rules and safety regulations. All installation work must be carried out by qualified personnel. The mounting surface must be prepared in advance. Prepare the holes, insert anchor sleeves, prepare all necessary cable channels in accordance with the layout scheme. Use the template from the delivery set. Besides marking of the holes for the installation of the turnstile, it is also necessary to mark the holes for the canopy and other equipment that comes with the turnstile. Route connection cables to the installation site. The power and lighting cables, cables from the fire alarm device, cable from the RC panel or from an external ACS controller, control cables from optional equipment. The delivery set consists of 6 boxes. Unpack box number 6. It contains 2 sections and the divider top girder. Install 1 section of the divider and fix it on the mounting surface with anchor bolts. Tighten preliminary for further possible adjustment of position. In the same way, mount the second section of the divider top girder. Mount the divider top girder and fix it with 8 M5x12 screws. Install the lower support of the rotors onto the holes in the mounting surface with M16 anchors. Unpack the bottom bearing rotation units. Insert the support flanges of the rotation units into the lower support and secure it with 2 M16 anchor bolts. Assemble the bottom bearing rotation units. Place the slip washer with a smooth surface up on the support flange. Then place the fluoroplastic insert. The upper slip washer is glued to the rotor shaft. The use of molybdenum grease is allowed. All elements should lay in the assembly unit, avoiding any misalignment, and rest symmetrically on the entire surface of the flange. Unpack boxes number 4 and number 5. There are guide barrier sections and supporting girders. Mount the guide barrier section. Thus, place it so the indication blocks are turned outwards and consider the positioning of the fixing points to the supporting girder. Secure the section to the mounting surface with anchor bolts. Tighten preliminary for further possible adjustment of position. In the same way, mount the second half of the guide barrier section. Take the supporting girder and align it so the rectangular hole in the middle part is facing upwards. Consequently, route the indication cables out of the guide barrier sections through the supporting girder and lead them into the center hole. Fix the supporting girder on the guide barrier sections by 4 screws M8x16 from the set of assembly tools. Use hex key SW6. Seal joints with weatherproof silicone sealant. In the same way, assemble the guide barrier section on the other side of the turnstile. Open box number 1, which contains the top channel. Remove the cover from the top channel. Carefully lift the top channel and lean it above the turnstile by using 2 step ladders. Besides, the studs installed in the guide barrier sections must fit into the corresponding holes of the top channel. Be careful not to damage the connection cables. Carefully lift the top channel from the side with barrier arms and route cable ends from the post and the supporting girder through the corresponding holes of the top channel. Repeat the assembly procedure on the other side of the turnstile. Fix the top channel to the guide barrier sections with 4 nuts N10 with washers by using the socket wrench S17. Tight nuts preliminary for further possible adjustment of position. Fix the top channel on the supporting girders of both guide barrier sections and on the top girder of the divider with 6 bolts M8 and the key SW6 by using square plates from the delivery set. Tight nuts preliminary for further possible adjustment of the top channel position. Unpack the first rotor section from box number 2. Take the rotor section with fastening bolts so that the cylindrical shank is facing downwards. Carefully bring it into the bottom rotation unit at a slight angle. Turn the section into the vertical position by joining together the upper rotor shaft with the shaft of the drive unit. Adjust the rotor section so that the edges of the upper rotor shaft and the edges of drive shaft match in accordance with the selected passage mode. For standard passage mode, for lock chamber mode. Join together the upper rotor shaft with the shaft of the drive unit with 2 half couplings by using 4 bolts M8x30 and spring washers. Use hex key SW6. Be careful, half couplings are very heavy. Do not drop them to avoid injuries. When tightening, ensure the uniformity of the gaps between the half couplings. Fasten the second rotor section to the fixing elements of the installed section by using 4 bolts M8x14 for upper mounting points and 20 bolts M8x12 with spring washers for the rest of the mounting points. Use hex key SW6. Tight bolts preliminary. In order to avoid dropping fasteners inside of the section, it is recommended to use the tool that adheres to the bolt being tightened. For instance, use the tool with a magnet tip or use appropriate plastic material. In the same way, install the third section of the rotor. After finishing the assembly, check the evenness of the gaps between the sections and finally tighten all rotor bolts. Check the vertical position of the rotor with the level. If necessary, eliminate the deviations from verticality by shifting the top channel within the tolerance limits of installation holes for bolts and studs. In the same way, assemble and install the second rotor, which is contained in box number 3. Make the final tightening of bolts and nuts at the top channel mounting points. Unlock the mechanical locking system of the turnstile with the keys and check the rotation of the rotor. The rotation is supposed to be uniform, require the same force applied for each direction. There should be no jamming or squeaking. Make the final tightening of bolts and screws of all the parts of the turnstile. Check again the verticality of the rotor with the level and ensure in free rotation of the barrier arms. Measure the turning force applied in the middle of the 5th bottom barrier arm by using a dynamometer or spring balance. It should not exceed 3 kilograms force. In case of discrepancy, it is necessary to check the correct alignment and assembly of the turnstile, its rotor, as well as the bottom rotation unit. Use the plastic plugs to cover the bolt holes in the joints of the rotor sections and holes for fixing supporting girder to the guide barrier sections. If the power and control cables are routed into the turnstile from the top, then remove the required number of plugs from the protective insert and insert the cable glands from the delivery set. Then pull the cables into the top channel. For a top cables routing between 2 turnstiles that stand close to each other, it is necessary to use channels from the delivery set. It is necessary to remove protective inserts before installation of channels. The larger channel should be on top. If the cables are routed into the top channel from below, from the mounting surface, then it is necessary to use a special cable duct that is contained in box number 6. To install it, Take off the protective insert and unscrew the two M4 screws, key SW3. Then place the bottom end of the cable duct towards cable's outlet in the mounting surface and pull the cables through it. Place the cable duct vertically. Route cables inside the top channel and secure the cable duct with two M4 screws at the top and two anchor bolts at the bottom. Connect cables to DIN rail contacts in accordance with the scheme. Carefully lay down the cables inside the top channel on the cable retainers and secure them with cable ties included in the delivery set. Cables should not interfere with the functioning of the operating device mechanisms and obstruct the shutting of the top channel's cover. Mount the cover on the top channel. Tighten the 6 screws M5x16 that are fixing the cover of the top channel. Use hex key SW4. Switch the mechanical locking system off for both passage directions of the turnstile. Switch the turnstile on. Check the operation of the turnstile from the remote control and test light and sound indication. The turnstile is installed and ready for operation.